I think that history is going to be perplexed. It will take smart historians to look at the sorts of things that, Milley, for example, says. All these people coming out of that administration and talking about the gorilla who was in office. Yes, gorilla. Let's say that he wins, that he had this fan base. And part of it is a quirk of the Electoral College. He's not going to win the popular vote. But the fact that he got back in and that there were many people who were extremely happy that he did, of all stripes. It's going to take a smart doctoral candidate to figure out how that was. That's going to be something people cut their teeth on. But now we're living through it.
I think there's just as big a prospect that he will be viewed, should he be re-elected to the White House, as a historic figure with warts, certainly with flaws, who changed the direction of the country and did so in the face of implacable opposition and reshaped the political sensibility of the country in ways that we cannot fully comprehend now.
I'm sure a lot of writers are thinking this. If Trump gets in, for 4 years, we have to write about how we feel about the stuff that he does. Every week he's going to do something or say something appalling, and that's going to be in the news cycle. And, there comes a time when you have to say something. I have some weeks where I realize I would like to write about George Gershwin, but I have to write about something that, he said or some phenomenon. And another 4 years of that. And that's what it was like from 2016 to 2020. I would so much rather that our discussion, not only what I write about, but our national discussion be about the sorts of things that Kamala Harris would halfway get done, because they are what I think of as progressive.
Your enthusiasm, I can't share it with you, but I hear you. I hear you about how our lives will be shaped by the outcome of this election. I hear you about that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not enthusiastic about Kamala.
How about this, John? How about taking on as a project, let's do a deep dive in trying to understand where the support for Trump in so many corners of American society that has catapulted him into a second visit to the White House comes from. How about trying to understand it in a more full?
The way you just said it grammatically made it sound like it had actually happened, and I must admit, my stomach jumped. You said has catapulted him back to the White House. That felt like you were saying.
Yeah, I should have said will have catapulted him.
Ooh, damn. Anyway, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. The idea would be a series of interviews with people, maybe even site visits and conversations and whatnot, in which you try to get your head around, how did this happen?
I feel like I kind of know. I mean, isn't that, frankly, the endless news story at this point, day after day after day, getting into the mind of the Trump voter? A lot of it is an issue of what you prioritize. Nobody thinks the man is any kind of moral paragon, but the idea is better than Kamala, or I care about the economy, and there's the idea that the economy was better under him. So, many people aren't interested in politics.
What I mean is things like the border and the composition of the country, and why people are not racist for wanting to know who it is that's going to be joining their polity, and
I agree.
Some say over that. What about the climate enthusiasm amongst the Democrats, and the fact that has a hit on the working class and union and industrial dependent economy and employment in ways that if you live on the coast and you're imbibing the atmosphere of the Democratic Party elite, you saving the planet becomes more important than saving the job. What about this transgender thing where a Supreme Court nominee, I'm talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson, can't define what a woman is in public without running afoul of no offense to her, I'm seeing she's a victim in a way of the political climate. She couldn't define it because if she were to define it, XY chromosome or whatever, she would have been in trouble with, what about that?
All of that makes sense. I mean, what perplexes me is that, what you're talking about is the all I know is kind of vote. All I know is, a person will say. And there's this one thing, I think, when you're more educated, often you say that it's your wedge issue. I get that. I get those issues. You feel that, you've been priced out of a job because of immigration, or that immigration makes it harder for you to do your job. I get that. What perplexes me is that because of the things that he's promised to do, all of them, especially that roughly half dozen that I gave, I would think that most people would say, I'm with him on X, but given all this other stuff, And then also the fact that he's inattentive and incurious and never took the office seriously. I think that they would think, not him. This is a special case, not him. But they don't think that. So maybe you're saying I would want to get rid of my perplexity. I'm afraid most human beings. No, but the problem is, what I'm going to say is that not all people vote in an informed way. Most people don't, and that's quite natural and quite understandable. But there are people who are voting in an informed way who nevertheless think that Trump would be the better choice than Kamala Harris. And they're maybe even great fans of Trump. That does perplex me. It would be interesting to dig into this. Like, for example, the blowback that I took here for despising Trump. That was for the most part, from what I could see, thoroughly well-read people who are watching this and, educated, et cetera, and, are steamed, furious, just, off the rails that I would talk about Trump in that way. I must admit that perplexes me. I'm surprised that their feelings run that deep about it and that they are so incomprehending of mine. Yeah, it would be interesting to get underneath, especially the fans of Trump of that world, to be the informed Trump voter.
People are saying you're informed Trump voter that he didn't do such a bad job when he was president, that the country was actually doing pretty well until the COVID pandemic hit. Foreign relations issues were breaking our way more or less, notwithstanding the claim that he had sold out to Vladimir Putin and that he was, I have a good friend that called him a traitor. Trump is a traitor. He should be impeached because he's a traitor to his country. Things of this kind. Since that his administration was a relatively successful one, especially in comparison to his successor, as well as the over-the-top exaggerations, distortions, and lies that were perpetrated against him. He said that there were good people on both sides of the racism debate in Charlottesville when he didn't say any such thing, and all that kind of stuff, and the near universal antipathy to him in the legacy media, which I think has redounded at the end of the day to a discredit of the reputation of the media. Not so much of Trump. So I mean, there's a kind of looking in the mirror imperative, it seems to me, in the event that Trump should win this election, that Democrats should be willing to undertake.
Yeah. Should. Yes. Will they? I don't know. But I still remain impacted by the sorts of things that people who worked in that administration and no longer do say. And it would seem to me that to think that things weren't really that bad then, and then to listen to these people saying, what it took to keep things from being really that bad, and to compare it to the Biden presidency when he had to deal with a raging pandemic at first. The inauguration with the outdoor masking, et cetera. It was quite a time to become president. I think that history is going to be perplexed. It will take smart historians to look at the sorts of things that Milley, for example, says. All these people coming out of that administration and talking about the gorilla who was in office. Yes, gorilla. And the fact that he won, let's say that he wins, that he had this fan base. And part of it is a quirk of the Electoral College. He's not going to win the popular vote. But the fact that he got back in and that there were many people who were extremely happy that he did, of all stripes, and a lot of them were brown. It's going to take a smart doctoral candidate to figure out how that was. That's going to be something people cut their teeth on. But now we're living through it.
I think there's just as big a prospect that he will be viewed, should he be re-elected to the White House, as a historic figure with warts, certainly with flaws, who changed the direction of the country and did so in the face of implacable opposition and reshaped the political sensibility of the country in ways that we cannot fully